friends, welcome back to another video, and if you're new, hi, my name is Paris. Today's video is going to be all the steamy and spicy books on my TBR at the moment. I don't read too many spicy, steamy books because I usually stick to young adult, but I've been venturing into adult books this year and I'm actually really loving it. So I wanted to share some of the books that I have on my TBR at the moment, and also hopefully I could recommend some of the books that I have already read / started to read. But first, today's video is sponsored by AnyStories. AnyStories is the hottest bite-sized romance novel app. There are hundreds upon hundreds of books on this app about dragons, alphas, and billionaire bosses. And I think it's really great because I always find myself needing to kill some time, whether I'm waiting at an appointment or just bored. I can just whip out my phone and there are so many stories on here that I can read from. And the plus is that they're all spicy and steamy, so you can have a fun time anywhere. My favourite book at the moment on AnyStories is called The War God's Favourite by Jenny Fox. This is a fantasy romance story with dragons, which I think is super cool, and it's kind of giving like Game of Thrones-esque vibes. We all know that I love fantasy, especially when it has romance, so this story, The War God's Favourite, has it all. It has the spice, the steam, the romance, and also dragons. So of course I had to read it. So I'm going to read you the synopsis of the story. So it says, she was destined to die, he was born to kill. Cassandra has known nothing except for slavery and suffering her entire life. Unjustly condemned to death, Cassandra was ready to breathe her last breath in the arena of the kingdom. But destiny has other plans for Cassandra, and instead of dying, she is given as tribute to one of the princes of the kingdom, Chiron, who is also the war god. He is merciless, and as I said, he's part of the kingdom, so he's like a dragon prince. But what will happen now that Cassandra is trapped in Chiron's den at his mercy? You can imagine there's gonna be some steam, there's gonna be some spice, there's twists, turns, spicy scenes, which of course we all love, so that's why we're here, isn't it? AnyStories has kindly provided me a link that will let the first 1,500 people get 200 coins for free on the app. Use my code on the screen for 200 free coins, as well as click the link in the description to take you there. A big thank you to AnyStories for sponsoring this video, and now let's get into all the steamy and spicy books on my TBR. So in my list I have 9 books, but I've kind of separated them into standalones and series. The standalone section only has 1 book, and then the rest of them are series / some of them can be standalones, but there are multiple other books as well in the series, if that makes any sense. So we're going to start with the first standalone, which is Den of Vipers by K.A. Knight. This book I have seen all over BookTok, BookTube, Bookstagram. It has been talked about a lot. Some people think it's like too Wattpad-y. Some people really like it, so I thought that I would add it to the list anyways so that I could try it out for myself. So this book does contain warnings, so before reading it you might want to check those in case it will accidentally trigger you. And this book is a reverse harem, dual multiple point of view story. So this book is about our main character Roxanne, who is basically known for her badass personality, and she owns a bar near the town. Her father, however, is not a very nice guy, and he gets into some debts. And because of these debts, he has to sell off Roxanne to the main guys of the story, and that's how we're introduced to them. So they are the Vipers of the town, and they are 4 guys, and you do not want to mess with them because they run everything and they're big and they're scary. Out of the 4 of them, we have Riker, who is the leader / businessman. He kind of like owns everything, runs the show. Then we have Kenzo, who is Riker's real brother by blood. He is the softest of the 4. He has multiple casinos, and he's also crazy intelligent, and he has a mastermind. And then there's Diesel, who is actually crazy, but in a good way. And lastly, Garrett, who is the coldest and apparently hates women. So I guess we'll see where we go from here, because it's a little bit sus to me, but it's okay, I'll give it a go. So then I suppose it goes from here. So as you can probably see by what people mean by it's like Wattpad-y, there's like the selling of the father's daughter and like the reverse harem, which is some people consider like cringe, but I personally have never read a story like that, so I guess we'll see when I finally get to reading this book. Perhaps I'll do a little reading vlog for it and then you can see my reactions, because I'm sure it'll be crazy, since in the like synopsis of the book it literally says that it is a dark story. The next book, which could also be a standalone but is also part of a series, is Corrupt by Penelope Douglas. This is the first book in the Devil's Night series, but like I said before, you can read it as a standalone. This book is a contemporary new adult novel and it is told from a dual point of view. So this book is about Erica, who is moving away from her town to get away from her ex-boyfriend and her family's expectations of her having to make a life with him. But what she's running away from will make her run into something that's way more important. So basketball star Michael is her ex's older brother, and Erica has always been kind of afraid but also attracted to him at the same time. And now that she's moving to his city to complete college, both of them will basically run into unexpected attraction and romance, and neither one of them are prepared for what they are about to feel for each other. There's no fantasy kind of element, but I still want to read it. I'm still interested. There are multiple books, so if I end up liking the first one, then I can binge all the rest of them. The next book is Pestilence by Laura Thalassa, and this is the first book in the Four Horsemen series. So this book is tagged as fantasy new adult / adult romance, paranormal romance, and urban fantasy. So this book starts with the Four Horsemen: war, famine, death, and pestilence, and they're coming down to Earth to destroy all of humanity. So when pestilence come to Sarah's town to burn it to the ground, she believes that all of her loved ones are marked for death, so out of desperation she shoots Pestilence off his steed, but nobody tells her that Pestilence can't die. So now he's alive and he's very angry, and so he takes her as prisoner. But the longer she's with him, the more uncertain her feelings are for him, and his true feelings are for her. So now Sarah might be able to save the world, but she'll have to sacrifice her heart in the process. So I'm excited for this. The cover looks very nice and pretty also. I love the aesthetics of it, and also the Four Horsemen. I think that's really cool. Again, I'm just excited for another fantasy romance book, and of course with all the steam, very excited for that too. The next book is also by the same author, and it is Rhapsodic by Laura Thalassa, and this is the first book in the Bargainer series. So this one again is a fantasy new adult / adult romance, paranormal romance, and urban fantasy novel. So we follow our main character Calypso, who has some problems. She has a little bracelet and she collects these black beads, and basically they are magical IOUs. Only death or full repayments will fill the obligations, and then the beads will finally disappear. In their world, everybody knows that if you need something, you go to the bargainer and he will get you what you want, but with a price. But for one of his clients, he's never asked for repayments until now, when Callie finds the Fae King standing in her bedroom, and then I think they kiss and exchange a promise or something. That part was a little bit unclear to me, but something magical happens. And then in the other world, something is terribly wrong as all of the Fae warriors are going missing, and there are whispers of this evil awakening. If the bargainer has to save his people, he'll need the siren to help him, which I'm pretty sure is Calypso. That kind of is all over the place in my head, but I kind of see where it's going. This also has a lot of love-hate reviews, so I'm excited to see where I fit on that spectrum. The next series is one of my favorite series of all time. You can probably guess by now if you've been watching all of my videos, and it is the Blood and Ash series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I have read the first two books, Blood and Ash and A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, and so technically for this video, the book that's on my TBR is the third book, which is The Crown of Gilded Bones. I started reading this book and I only got a few pages in, almost 100 pages in, and then I got into a massive reading slump and stopped reading it because I didn't want to force myself to read a series that I absolutely love and then end up not liking it because of my state of mind. So I'm saving this one for a rainy day, but it is on my TBR now, definitely because of the steam and the spice, so that's what made it fit the criteria. However, so far my favorite book is definitely A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. This one was amazing, but for the sake of this video I'm going to tell you what the first book is about, which is the book from Blood and Ash. So this series is like very much vampires and werewolves, paranormal romance, enemies to lovers, and then it goes like friends to lovers, to hate to love. So it's got all the tropes. It's got the one bed trope, I'm pretty sure. It's got everything. So that's why it's my favorite. This is a new adult fantasy romance novel, and we follow our main character Poppy, who is in a kingdom. She is the maiden, and the maiden is like a selected individual of the kingdom who isn't allowed to experience any pleasure or any joy, and she has to be found worthy of the gods, which is why she can't experience anything. Until one day a guard comes into her life named Hawk, and he is duty bound and honor bound to protect her. However, Poppy gets tangled up in her feelings and her duty, and then it goes on from there. Also, there's like a power within the kingdom which is kind of causing some chaos, and another kingdom that has fallen is now rising, and so there's some like, you know, unrest and chaos in the kingdom. So we follow Poppy and Hawk through all of these troubles, and it is really, really good. I cannot recommend this book enough. I definitely recommend this series if you have not read it yet. I love it so much. Even you see that poster there, that is of Poppy and Hawk. I got it on Redbubble. So yeah, that's how much I love the series. I got a poster for my wall. But yes, that is the next series. Definitely a good read, and please pick it up because you won't regret it. The next series is the Flames of Chaos series, or the Legacy of the Nine Realms series by Amelia Hutchins. Be sure to check the warnings for this book before you start reading, because I've read some reviews and some of them have said that this book can be triggering to some, so make sure you do that before reading this book. So this book has been tagged as a major enemies to lovers book to the extreme, and we all know that I'm an enemies to lovers lover, so of course I had to put it on the list. So in this world there are two alphas, an alpha male and an alpha female, and both of them are going to battle for dominion. Their power basically matches each other, so they're just really powerful figures head to head, and they are ultimate enemies. So we have Arya, who is known for her unknown factor of power and her intelligence. She is the descendant of the god Hecate, if that's how you say it, and she is her granddaughter, so she is a goddess herself. However, she's been unwanted most of her life, and so she's been in turmoil since. She's loyal to her sister, so when Nox comes into her life, she definitely isn't going to bow down for some complete stranger. Nox is known for his all-consuming power, and he doesn't take anyone from anything until he meets Arya. She's his enemy, but he can't touch her as he's been sworn to leave her alone and not harm her. However, he's been sent down and his mission is to destroy all of Arya's race, but he can't and won't touch her, so will she succumb to his dominance? Both of them are super powerful. They're going to kind of battle. There's like some kind of I can't touch you, maybe I won't touch you, you know where I'm going. The cover also looks good. I've also seen this one all over booktube, so I think that this will be a really great novel to read. The next series that we have, or possibly duology, is The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen and The Traitor Queen, also by Danielle L. Jensen. This is at the moment a duology. I'm not sure if there's going to be more books, but I popped this in the series one because obviously there's more than one book. We follow our main character Lara in the first book, The Bridge Kingdom, who is very fearless and powerful. Her father, the king, has been raising Lara and her sisters to be weapons. They are destined one day to be married off to the evil enemy king in hopes of maybe destroying his nation. And one day Lara is forced, as you know, her destiny is, to marry someone from like the opposing kingdom, or just someone that they are not allianced with. And the only thing that she can think on her wedding day is how she's going to destroy them. So, interesting. Enemies to love, hate to love. I sense it. I'm very excited for it. It's not too long, and the covers are also very gorgeous. I will show you them. Super cute and pretty. The next two books are part of a series, and it is A Touch of Darkness and A Touch of Ruin by Scarlett St. Clair. I'm pretty sure there are 2 more books. I'm not sure if there are going to be more, but these are based on Greek mythology. They are part of the Hades and Persephone series, and as the series name suggests, it is about Hades and Persephone. So they're in a mortal world, and Persephone is there to kind of live a normal life away from her mother. She wants to just do normal mortal things like go to university, have a job, etc. And one day, by chance, she meets Hades, who runs a gambling den in the city of New Athens. She accidentally makes a bargain with him, and she has to go into the underworld and make a life down there, or be stuck there forever, or something like that. I started reading some of it, but I didn't finish it. I got to around 50 pages of the book, so I read, you know, the introduction of it, and it was pretty good so far, and I'm excited to read it, and I'm glad that I also bought the second book while I got the first one. This book is supposedly very steamy because, you know, we have Hades and Persephone, you know, we kind of have like the god thing going on. I'm excited for it. So far, I'm really in love with Hades' character. He's very like charismatic and, I don't know, attractive in that way, and so I'm sure the spicy scenes will live up to our expectations. So yes, that is the next 2 books on my TBR. The next book is one that I haven't heard many people talk about, and it is called Kiss the Fae. It is part of the Vicious Fairies series, and it is by Natalia Jasta. This book is tagged as a slow burn romance, enemies to lovers book with a lot of steamy scenes, and so it ticked all the boxes for me. We have fairies, fantasy, steamy scenes, slow burn romance, enemies to lovers. It is my ultimate book, and I'm so excited to read it. So I follow Lark, who is one of 3 sisters who have to flee to the land of fairy in order to get away from something out of desperation. Because of this, they have to bargain with 3 very powerful fae who rule over the sky, woodland, and river. So there's 3 fae and 3 sisters, so they all have their own separate challenges, but this book focuses on Lark and Cerulean, who is the ruler of the sky. I'm very excited for this. I'm always interested when it's like fairies and natural elements and magic and power, and also I like the idea of like the 3 sisters and the 3 powerful fae. It like goes together. It's quite coincidental, but I'm excited to see where it goes. Also, the cover is absolutely gorgeous, so that just makes me want to read it even more. Okay, so those are all the books on my TBR that are spicy and steamy. If you have any more new adult or adult book recommendations, be sure to leave them down below in the comments, because the more the merrier, and I'm sure that all the people who are watching want to know some more as well. Also, thank you again to AnyStories for sponsoring this video, and I will see you on my next one, friends. Bye!